What's the current state of the UK right now?
Oh my God, we're screwed.
We're
We're absolutely screwed. Yeah, unfortunately, yes. Is there hope? Of course, you've always got to have hope. But the UK is in deep, deep, deep trouble. More trouble, I think, than we've been in since World War II. And there is the likelihood of a holy war. There is the possibility of a civil war. There is certainly so much going on in this country that I almost feel like the eyes of the world, the eyes of the West need to be on the United Kingdom, or the disunited kingdom, as I call it.
Wow. Like, is it that bad though? Or have we just got ourselves in a doom loop?
No, I think it's actually worse than what people realize, because remember, the deep state regime media don't often report the truth about how bad things are. It is in their interest not to, which is why we saw things like the Pakistani Muslim rape gang cover up go on for decades, because there was no desire actually to paint a picture of quite how bad things are. And what we now have is sectarian politics starting to dominate. We have an elite class not prepared to call out the threat of Islam for what it is. We have takeovers going on of our cities, our biggest cities, where there are no-go zones, whether you're talking about London or Birmingham, or even now parts of Glasgow in Scotland. So, no, I think we're in deep trouble. And by me saying that, it doesn't mean that I'm not patriotic. It doesn't mean that I don't love England, that I don't love the United Kingdom, that I don't love Great Britain, that I don't want to save it. But I actually think one of the biggest issues that we've had over the past 2 decades is people not talking about what's happening. I mean, there has been an invasion of our country, both legally and illegally, since 1997. Well, we haven't spoken about it. And look at where we're at now.
I talk about it a lot. And I get lots of hate for it being called a doom monger. Why don't you fuck off to Dubai then? Well, if they put the taxes up even more, I might.
You're tempted.
Yeah. But I was born here. I think Britain fundamentally is a great nation. It's sad to see what's happening. And I have to check myself every now and again and go, I'm not just being a doom monger, am I? Because that's what the algorithms love, and that's why I want to have this conversation. But, everywhere I look, things seem to be getting worse. But I'm also getting dozens, if not hundreds of messages a day from people saying, good on you for speaking out, you're doing good work. So maybe you could focus on, what do you think the 3 biggest problems in the UK are? And then at the end, we'll talk about some solutions. But now, what's the 3 worst things?
Well, look, firstly, in answer to your question, are we being doom mongers? Absolutely not. I am seeing this. I am living this every single day. I now live in a failed city. And if you go back and look at my former interviews, I mean, I've been the public eye now for well over 2 decades. I used to say that London was the greatest city on earth. That wasn't just some type of throwaway line. I moved to London when I was 21 years old. I made it my home. I adored it. I loved it. I was passionate about it. And I genuinely felt lucky for living in the greatest city in the world. What I have seen over the past decade under the Muslim mayor of London, I do think that's relevant, by the way, and I'll come back to that, Sadiq Khan, we have seen a city which has been brought to its knees. He has quite literally destroyed the world's greatest city. I will talk about that. And by the way, I live it. I have been mugged twice in Sadiq Khan's London. I have been the victim of an attempted mugging once by 2 hooded men on a motorbike. In some cases, Rob, I didn't give them what they wanted. Maybe I should have, because in some cases, you know what? Those people are stabbed to death. I have also seen terror come into our lives. I was here on the tube on 7/7/2005. So and I moved to London at the end of 2004. So we know that terror is a threat, but the difference is now we are terrorized on a daily basis. You can't pull your phone out in the middle of a street in London. You can't leave your bike outside of your house. You know, my neighbor was broken into in broad daylight on a Sunday afternoon recently by an Asian gang who were armed. I spoke to the police. I went out there and the police shouted at me to get back inside. Well, did they come? No. Like how they did, because they don't respond to those types of crimes. So that's the first thing. It's like, I'm not a doom monger. I'm listening to my audience, but I'm also living this. I'm experiencing this every single day. And I'm not part of the elite class that are going to pretend that this isn't going on because they happen to live in a very posh suburb and they can get their either business funded or state sponsored vehicles everywhere, so they're not actually having to go out there, see the destruction on the tubes, see the vandalism on the tubes, see the homeless problem. So that's the first thing. I'm living it. Now, in terms of what are the three biggest threats to the United Kingdom? Well, firstly, and this is one of the things that I guess makes me quite cancelled now, because I would at the top of the list say the Islam threat to the UK. I would say there is a democratic threat to the UK, and I would say there is a free speech threat to the UK. So for me, they are the three number one problems that we're facing.
So could we go into each one? I don't think I've talked ever on my show about the Islam threat, so I want to give space to do that now. So why is that a threat?
Well, what we are fundamentally seeing is people taking power who have been very open about the fact, and by the way, this is not a conspiracy theory. You know, I can produce all the receipts for you here, who have been very open about the fact that they want there to be Muslims in power in all of the main offices of state in the United Kingdom. And they have a very powerful network, very, very well funded people who intend to make this happen. Well, why is that a problem, you might say? I say because we are a Christian country, and that is absolutely fundamental to what we need to be if we want to maintain the traditions and the freedom of Western democracy, which I do. Now, I say this, by the way, quite boldly as a gay man, because I know what is taught in the mosques of East London, where I used to live. I have spoken on my show to gay men who have been de-radicalized, but were at the point, Rob, of committing bombing attacks on Canary Wharf because they were so entrenched by the hard ideology of Islam. These are gay men, right? And they have also told me that in those mosques, they are taught on a daily basis that gay men should be pushed off the top of buildings in the United Kingdom. And by the way, these are British-born people, on the whole, who are being radicalized in the mosques of East London. And we're not talking about that enough. And it's not just about the fact I'm a gay man. I mean, to me, that's actually quite irrelevant to the way that I tend to live my life. But I'm raising it because this is a religion that simply doesn't want me to be able to exist. So if someone says that I'm Islamophobia for speaking about the Islam threat to the United Kingdom, well, I would be very clear that that religion getting into power poses a direct threat to me. If you are a woman, it also poses a direct threat to you. This is a religion that doesn't believe women should play any role in public life, doesn't even believe that a woman should be able to leave the house with anything other than their eyes covered. And that's not a society that I want to live in. I used to live in Tower Hamlets in East London. I saw that, and I saw the threat of that type of extreme Islam coming to power. And it is coming to power. We have a Home Secretary now called Shabana Mahmood, and lots of people are predicting that she will be the first Muslim Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. There's already a push on the Labour left for her to replace Slippery Starmer, as I call him, the failed Prime Minister. But you'll also see there will be an equal push to make Sadiq Khan the first Muslim Prime Minister. They want to have a few options. Now, Shabana Mahmood has spoken openly, and again, I can produce these receipts for you. It's all on video. she has said quite openly that her Muslim faith is the absolute number one fundamental driver to everything she does in her life. Bigger than her family, bigger than her country, bigger than her party, bigger than her politics. That's concerning to me. We are a Christian country. That is concerning to me. And the demographic change is so stark, Rob, that what we are seeing is, and again, you can crunch the numbers on this, and it's all there. People don't like doing it because it doesn't fit the narrative, but we are seeing a very real possibility that within a decade, maybe two, we will have most of the major cities of the United Kingdom a Muslim majority. Now, this is not a fantasy because these cities are already a white minority, which will concern some people. It won't concern other people. For me, I'm not bothered by what the color of anyone's skin is, but I am absolutely concerned that we have a push for, I believe, the United Kingdom to become an Islam country.
Wow. And what would you say to the people who would call you a racist?
Well, it's certainly not racist. I mean, you could argue that it is Islamophobic. And of course, there is a push in, certain parts of the government and certainly on the left to make Islamophobia illegal, to make having this type of conversation illegal. Now, let me be very clear. People can practice whatever religion they choose. I absolutely believe in freedom of religion, freedom of expression. But my belief is that if you want to take over our country with your religion, our Christian country, our Church of England country, that's where I have a problem. If you want to bring sectarian politics to our country, which is happening. I mean, we have 5 MPs already that have been elected in Parliament as Islamists. We have Jeremy Corbyn, the former leader of the Labour Party, and Zara Sultana setting up what is effectively an Islamist party, where they care much more about the people of Gaza than they do about the people of Birmingham. I have a fundamental problem with that. But it's not about racism at all. I mean, it's completely irrelevant what ethnicity someone is. To me, this is about a religion that doesn't have doesn't promote the type of society, the type of freedom that we are accustomed to in the West. And as I say, they are quite clear that they want to take over. And they are quite clear. And by the way, if you look at, for example, the former First Minister of Scotland, Humza Yousaf, who is now a big part of this network, by the way, this network to bring Muslims to all positions of power in the United Kingdom, I believe he is also an anti-white racist. And you only have to look at the speech that he delivered in the Scottish Parliament, where he went through all of the various positions, senior positions of power in Scotland, and said, white, this is disgusting. You know, this person in Scotland is white. This person in Scotland is white. This person in Scotland is white. Now, Scotland, Rob, is a 94% white country. So why is it a surprise that the vast majority of the positions of power are filled by white people? My argument would be it is these Islam extremists who are bringing the issue of race into it. Humza Yousaf, actually, I mean, I call him Humza Useless because he was so completely incompetent, totally incompetent. He was the most incompetent minister in scheming Sturgeon's government, yet somehow he became First Minister of Scotland, failed at that job, was booted out within a year. Now he has the cheek to try and come for white people and say there's too many white people in power in Scotland when Scotland is a 94% white country. But you've got to look at the demographics and you've got to look at the demographic change and the fact that on the whole, people who are white English are not having children at a particularly high rate. And so there are serious concerns about demographic change and about a push of a religion which wants to become the dominant power in the United Kingdom. Now, I'll stress again, I've got no problem if people want to be in a Muslim country, but for all of the reasons that I've described, including the fact that this is a religion that doesn't believe in my right to exist, I don't want that religion taking over and having the power in this country.